people actually want. And with that, I would like to mention a couple things. Then I'm going to ask our Public Works Director, Mr. Haro, to discuss with us the present situation and the reasons for that present situation. And so when you have a question, please go down. Everybody should have a raised hand somewhere. You may have to go down to the bottom of the screen, and where it says participants, hit participants, it'll pop up, and at the bottom of the participants box, it says raise hand. And so you can hit that, and I allegedly will be able to know that you wish to speak, and you'll be unmuted at that particular point. Correct, Ashley? Or not? That is the game plan in the event. So
that is correct. Sorry.
There you go. All right. Okay. I have a few things to say about recycling, but I'll wait until Mr. Haro. You're on, sir. Thank you very much for helping us out tonight.
All right. Thank you, Mayor, for having me. So their current situation with trash and recycling has been really affected because of coronavirus. First, I'd like to start with the trash. The trash has been affected in Old Bisbee only. Everywhere else in Warren, San Jose, Saginaw, everywhere else, trash pickup has remained the same. In Old Bisbee, we had to do modifications because previously what we were doing is we were doing hand pickup up and down the stairs throughout Old Bisbee with the help of our Department of Corrections crew. Once coronavirus hit, we lost our Departments of Corrections. So that was one reason why we stopped doing the hand pickup. We don't have the manpower to do it right now. The second reason is doing trash pickup by hand. I felt was not responsible putting our staff in having them pick up other people's trash by hand. We do have the ability to mechanically pick up trash, and although it is a little bit of an I'm sorry, did I lose you all somewhere, or did I lose you?
I can hear you. I can
Okay.
hear you.
Okay. So we do have the ability to mechanically pick up trash, which eliminates, it not completely eliminates, but it greatly reduces the physical contact that our staff has with trash. Everywhere else in Old Bisbee is mechanically picked up. I mean, I'm sorry, Bisbee, Warren, San Jose, all the others is mechanically picked up. The Old Bisbee was the only place we hand picked up. That was our adjustment that we had to make sure that our staff stayed safe. Moving on to recycling. Recycling is somewhat similar in that we had a lot of stations where people could deposit their recycling. The issue we had with recycling was, again, we had to bring all of those containers back to our recycling center. There, it's located right there. We share a facility with the county at their transfer station. We would bring all of our containers back and we would hand separate our recycling. And unfortunately, we do receive a lot of garbage in our recycling containers. Again, that's a reason, it's something we wanted to try our best to minimize it to the most extreme. Again, we still it's not completely possible that they don't come in contact with garbage, but we don't want to knowingly put them there in a situation where they're coming in contact with other people's garbage when we have the ability to have people bring their recycling in and they take their recycling and deposit it into the correct containers. So going to summarize the recycling, we did pull all of our recycling containers and we asked currently that you bring your recycling to our recycling center and we will accept your recycling when you deposit it into the correct containers. That's what we've done to this point, and I guess we will start going with questions, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. Am I on audio?
Yes, you are.
Okay, great. Yeah, I wanted to clarify a couple things. Number one is that people from outside the city of Bisbee are able to recycle also. Is that correct?
That is correct. So on that note, previously what we were doing was when we had our recycling centers placed out throughout the city, residents that were not a part of within the city of Bisbee, whether they be county or Sierra Vista or wherever, they were free to go in and deposit their recycling in those containers without charge. There was no way for us to regulate whether they were paying for it as the city of Bisbee residents did and still do, and they were not being charged. So they were freely able to deposit the recycling in those containers. At this point, what we've done is when the new fee schedule came into play, we do allow non-residents to come in and purchase a recycling voucher. That recycling voucher is essentially 1 year's worth of monthly payments of the recycling that the city of Bisbee residents pay. $6.77 per month times 12, $81.24. They pay that all up front for the entire year, and they're able to come in and deposit their recycling at our recycling center as many times as they would like for the year.
And how many of those do we have, Mr. Harrow? Any idea?
I don't have the exact number. I want to say we're pushing about 50 vouchers that we've sold right now.
Okay. All right. So this actually is very similar to what Sierra Vista is doing in many other communities, in that they're not going, that they've centralized their recycling. Is that also correct?
Yes, that is correct. I've read a number of articles on the recycling subject, and there are a number of cities, major cities throughout the United States that are doing the exact same thing that we are.
Right. This is a good time to mention recycling. I brought this up before, the fact how much it costs the city, and is this really what we want to do? I know there's a number of people that indicate, I don't care what it costs, I want to recycle because it's important. And I get that argument. The problem is if there's not somebody to buy it, then you're not recycling. You're doing nothing more than storing it and taking up land space. And so the figures we threw out last year as to what it was costing the city of Bisbee to actually recycle was over $200,000. And now this year, ending June 30th of 2017 to 2018, the numbers were $210,985.26 that it cost us to recycle. And those numbers are going to be higher this year because there's less, there's not as many buyers present. And so I think that's very important when we're weighing what we want to do versus what is fiscally able to do maybe two different things. Now, there could be other options, I suppose. There could be options of those that want to recycle. The city could come up with a cost for them to actually come and pick up their recycling if they are that keen on doing that recycling. But again, we're not able to sell it, so it's going to be stored someplace. And that's the reality of the situation, and that's what the problem is. So with that, let's take any questions that we have at this point. Do we have any?
Good evening. This is Yvette Ponte.
I have that.
So I have a question from a customer perspective. I have been receiving a bill for services that have changed considerably since COVID, meaning that twice a week on Tuesday and Friday each week, we had trash picked up at our property and then it was taken away and the recycling was available. My bill was $68 a month. My bill has now gone up to $80+ a month. There is no trash collection at my house at all. I have to take time out of my day to collect all the trash myself and take it to a central location. And there's no recycling being done, and I'm being charged more. So I'd like to understand how that works, because being a professional business person, I can't charge my customers for a service I'm not providing for them. I called the office today to find out why I had an increase. I called to find out what my recourse was during COVID-19, and how is it possible there's a line item I'm being billed for that isn't happening. It doesn't seem legal or ethical. So can somebody speak to that as to why not only myself, but several businesses and also other individuals and residents in town are being forced to pay the fees? I did ask if I could opt out since I'm not receiving the service, and I was told that if I was to opt out, it would just accrue penalties and I would have a bigger bill at the end of the day. That was the answer to me opting out of a service I'm not receiving.
Yeah, I can answer part of that. And part of that is that Old Bisbee's the only one that was receiving that kind of service to begin with. I live in Warren. I take my trash doesn't get picked up here. We go to central locations, which are dumpsters that are spread out throughout Warren. And it's basically the same elsewhere. And so Old Bisbee was getting a special treatment because of the hills and valleys and everything else that was there. Same as yours has. And I'm not getting recycling, and I have to take my trash also. But it's always been that way for me in the years that I've lived here.
If I could,
Okay.
just a little bit to that. I know that you mentioned that you feel like you're not getting the service, or we're not providing the service. We are providing the service. We had to modify it. We had to be responsible and accountable to our employees, and so we changed it to a mechanical pickup. Now we do mechanically pick up trash. We do receive your recycling. We do take the recycling to our recycling vendors, and so we still provide the service. It's just been modified temporarily.
Okay, but if I provide 50% of my service to a customer that I'm no longer providing, that I would charge 50% of that cost. So the service has been significantly reduced, and it's also added hours of my time, which I can't bill for. So for example, if it takes me 2 hours a week that I didn't have to spend before of my time, I can't bill you for my time to help with that process. Also, I think recycling is an option in the United States of America, and I've noticed all the recycling bins have been removed. So I'm not currently utilizing that service, yet there is a line item on my bill charging me for a service that I'm not utilizing, and I don't have a way to opt out of it. It's a very minor cost, but it's basically the concept, the premise, the situation that there is a bill being issued to me for something that is not happening. I would not expect Cable One, for example, to bill me if I decided to not have their service anymore, or if they could not provide that service. If they couldn't provide the service to the degree that I'm accustomed to being provided, then they should be providing a discount given the situation. There are also people in town that are struggling with paying their bills at this time because they are out of work, and the city is not offering a forbearance or any kind of a suspension or an option for people who are struggling to avoid paying those monthly fees.
Well,
I
Yvette,
don't think that that seems very ethical or legal.
well, that I understand what you're saying, and that's one reason that I called for this town hall. I've been quoted and rightfully so of saying that, you know, I do agree with the fact that we're charging for something that we say that we're providing that we're not providing. Or in your words, if I don't want to recycle, I shouldn't have to pay for it. I actually agree with that. And so one reason that we're trying to get together here is to come up with a solution as to those people that want to recycle. How do we do that? Those people that don't want to recycle, that's great. And let's move on from there. And so that's one of the exact reasons we're here, Yvette.
Right.
So
So
I'm
it does seem
I'm
like,
not arguing.
thank you for that. I appreciate that is being thought about, because it seems like it was, you know, I understand antiquated computer systems, but I noticed that it was very easy to add an increased fee on my bill. It seems to me that it should be just as easy to take away a fee. So if I could call somebody and say, I'd like to opt out of this, I'm not using this service, then just as you can add an increase to my bill, it seems like it would make sense that you could remove something from my bill. And or as we're in a temporary COVID time, it seems a logical solution could be, you know, we're going to keep the bills running as they are right now. And at the end of the year, we're going to provide everybody a credit when we know how this is moving forward. It just seems like there could be some kind of a simple and logical, kind way to move forward so that people aren't paying bills. I know some of the businesses in town are paying upwards of $250 and $3 a month, and they've been forced to close, but they still have to pay their recycling trash fees, and they're not even open. So how does that work? You know, it just doesn't, it seems like there's a real imbalance there. And so I thank you for helping us to figure out a solution that makes sense for everybody.
Yeah, you know, we're not unique. Other countries have had major problems. The first time I went to New Zealand was probably almost 30 years ago. And they were heavy into recycling at that particular point. And kids, back then, the kids took it to school every day, and they actually did the recycling at school. Well, that was tried and doesn't work in the United States. But New Zealand also then has gone to a different situation, which is kind of interesting. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because there are ways to solve these problems. But New Zealand is, you can buy a trash bag. You buy your trash bag. So you pay up front for that bag. And then you fill it with your recyclables and you put it out on the curb. And when there's once a week or whatever, a truck comes by and picks up those bags. It's a service that's already paid for. You don't want to recycle, don't buy a bag.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not suggesting that that is what we do in Bisbee, but I am suggesting that there are ways for us to sit down and figure this out. But we have to come to grips with the fact that if we're going to recycle, it's going to cost those people that want to recycle money in order to do that. Because it costs us money in order to do that. So if we had, if we had taken that, what is it, 633 or whatever that additional cost is now, if that had been taken and just put down as additional for the trash, then we wouldn't be talking about the recycling. We would be complaining about the
Right.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm just listening.
There was
you have-
something in the background.
Oh, okay. You have Donna
Oh, yeah,
Pulling
there's-
raising her hand.
I'm outdoors.
Okay. Miss Donna Pulling is raising her hand.
Mhm.
Ms. Pulling,
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
yes.
Thank you.
Okay. I think that it would be helpful to know the source of the $6.33 extra charge for a breakdown of that charge. Are we doing that because that's what the cost of having the services come to pick up the trash, the recycled items? And in order to make an informed decision about what we want to recycle and how we want to recycle, can we have some information about what's the cost of cardboard, for example, or aluminum or plastic? I mean, which of our recyclables can we recycle with a market that sustains the cost of recycling it? And then maybe we could make a choice as to, well, we'll recycle those items and then reduce the monthly fee for the service of recycling.
I understand, Ms. Pulling. One problem with that is all of those items that you mentioned are commodities and it rises and falls. If they want to take them at all. The fact is like right now, glass, nobody wants glass. Aluminum, it turns out that people don't want cars built out of recycled beer cans. They want new aluminum. And so the aluminum situation is drastically changed. So it's something that changes so often that it isn't feasible. It's almost like watching the stock market.
Yeah. So Mayor, surprisingly, I agree with you on this matter in that, I know, don't fall off your chair, but here we go. I think that in order for all of us to have to absorb this cost for a warm and fuzzy feeling that we're doing something to save the environment is a false assumption. And if the markets are fluctuating to that degree that we can't rely on a commodity return, then what we need to do is to reduce the consumption of those non-recyclable items and follow the first principle of the 3 R's, is to reduce rather than to just keep consuming items that have no market value, costing us $6.33 a month that we don't want to pay for not having them be recycled. There's no market for them. So I agree with eliminating the recycling and promoting and educating in a reduction program of let's not buy quantities of items in these containers that we can't recycle. Amazon is a big offender in the cardboard and packaging production. And I think we have to think about those things when we make our purchases, is that we are going to pay the cost of recycling that we don't want to pay. So I agree with you, Mayor. I think that the warm and fuzzy feeling of recycling is just not fiscally responsible. Thank you.
Ms. Coleman or Mr. Haro, do you have an answer to where we got that figure from?
Yeah.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Oh, are you there, Jesus?
I am. Go ahead, Ms. Coleman.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Sorry, I didn't see you, so I jumped in. The cost came from the $207,000. That was the cost of providing recycling in the audited previous financial cycle, divided by 12, divided by the number of customers.
So that's the cost that we pay to have the service that has no end use for it.
The recyclables that do have an end use are delivered to Tucson and Phoenix. They have a value under $2,000 a year.
Could we reduce our cost based on those commodities that have an end use market that we are making?
They have an end use, Donna. They do not have a value.
They have
Gotcha.
very little value, very
Yeah.
little value. And if you would like, I can even tell you the rate at rates at which we are getting a return on. It's very little.
Right. Well, that's where I think that's where the rubber meets the road. I think we really have to see those figures. I think the public has to understand that we're not making any money on this. It's costing us.
It
Right.
is.
And that's why we're paying this $6.33, because we want to feel good about saving the environment. And the way we feel good about saving the environment is to not buy it in the first place. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Right, and let me, I've got figures in front of me just so that we understand better. Our revenues last year were rounded out $49,000. That's $49,000. And to get that $49,000, it cost us $260,000.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the $211,000 that it costs us. The difference between those two is what the actual cost of doing business is. And so I know that previously I put some of these figures out, and I will guarantee you that there's a number of people that unfortunately most of them aren't on this call, but will indicate, I don't care what it costs, I want that done, but they're not the ones, we're all shouldering the burden.
Mayor, we have a few people raising their hands.
I see it now, thank
Okay,
you.
perfect.
Let's go to Douglas on the Galaxy S9 Plus. Good phone, Douglas.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm Doug Hall. I'm on Bisbee Road, just down the street from you a little bit. We've met at some of our neighborhood watches.
Sure.
The reason I'm pitching and raising my hand about this recycle issue, I'm all behind all of the nebulous, great for the environment ideas that are coming out. But I guess my big question is, what role is the transfer stations recycle bins in all of the city monies? When I pay my sewer and garbage and I pay my recycle fee, it goes to the city. Now, from what I'm hearing here, the city is paying someone to come pick up recycles from the city, or are they being picked up down at the county transfer point? And if that's the case, since our recycle bins are gone now, those of us that are taking recycles down to the county transfer station and putting them in those bins at the transfer station on Toberville, is that the replacement for the old blue bins we used to have scattered around town? And
Well,
that's the end of my question. on
yeah,
recycling.
actually that
Everybody
is,
else.
yeah, the bottom line is, Douglas, that is the city recycling. What you see at the county is at the county transfer station, but what you're providing, the group that you're providing this to is the city. And yes, they have taken the place of those blue bins you just asked about.
If I could add just a little bit, Mayor.
Please.
So what we did previously when we had our bins out throughout the city is we collected those bins and we brought them back to our recycling center, which we share with the county. Those bins, we brought them there, and then we hand separated those recyclables, put them in the bins. We then compress them into cubes, and we deliver the recyclable material to either Tucson or Phoenix. We don't pay for somebody to come pick it up. We take it there. I want to stress though that I know that there's a little bit of confusion when people aren't used to bringing their recyclables to the transfer station. You should not go onto the scale if you're going to recycle. If you go onto the scale, what you're doing is you're taking trash and paying for it to be taken by the county to the landfill. If you just stay to the left, go to all of our blue bins. It's not, you can't miss them. Go directly there. We have our staff there to help you to deposit those recyclables for no cost. If you're a city resident, you already paid that cost. You in your bill. You go there, deposit it. Again, we compress it and we deliver it to the recycling vendors.
Okay, let's go to Melody.
Hi, this is Dwayne Doogie. And I'm kind of like everybody else here and kind of against this whole recycling issue. One, I work out of town, so the convenience of it is no longer there. So when I am home on a weekend, I don't want to have to run to the transfer station every time just to recycle. So part of my thing is everybody's making comments that people want to recycle no matter the cost. So if that's the case, why can't the city get in touch with the outfit out of Huachuca City, because they go into Hereford and all that, and get them to come into town and charge the people that want to recycle their monthly fee or whatever it is, and let them pay directly to that company to recycle, and the city can get out of the recycling business because obviously it's not cost effective.
That's been that's been discussed. I've talked to that company, and they were as this is only my understanding, they were having growing pains, and we're not ready to come into Bisbee yet. But I spoke with them months ago.
But
They were to contact me when they were actually ready to take over Bisbee and Douglas.
I just have a hard time with this. I mean, being mayor, city council, whatever, that you guys are okay with something that's costing the city $200,000 a year to make $2,000. That's not even financially smart.
Well, and I'm not going to argue with you because I've been saying that for several years. And we're not comfortable with that. The fact is too many people are comfortable with that. That's what exact reason we're having this discussion.
So if people are comfortable with it and people still want to take it to the transfer station, why don't they let the county recycle it? Because obviously they're in the business of it, and let the city get out.
Actually, the county's not in the business of it.
Oh, they got out already?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Well, here's part of the problem too. I do go to the dump occasionally on Saturdays when I need to. But by the time I load my truck with garbage and I get down there, there's no way I'm going to go over and sort and then go back onto the scale and dump. It's just too much of a hassle and too much of an inconvenience. And then the other problem is, from what I understand, if you go to dump into the city recycling, you have to show your bill from the city so they know you're a city resident to do it, correct?
That is correct. Yes. And that's again, that goes back to our voucher program that we initiated. We had an extraordinarily amount of people that would come and put their garbage, including their recycling, into the recycling bins. And while the city residents had a fee, although the fee previously was less, they were doing it for free while the city of Bisbee residents were paying for it.
Right. I understand that, but here's my problem.
Now is they have to pay for it. If you're a resident, you show your bill, it's free, you go. If you come in, you don't have a bill, you have to have a voucher so that we know that you paid for that service.
Well, when I get online or whatever, and I pay my bill that month, I throw the bill away. I don't carry it around in my vehicle so that I can go down there and show it to recycle. That's total inconvenience.
I'd be open to taking some suggestions on that. Maybe there's take a screenshot of that and keep it on your phone. I'm not quite sure the best way to do that right now. It's just a matter of making sure that we're not.
Here's another question. People are so against it. What is it going to take for the city to get out of the recycling?
You faded out. I couldn't understand your question.
What if so many people in this town are against recycling? What is it going to take for the city to get out of the recycling business so this fee goes away? Is it a vote from the council? Is it a vote of the people? What does it take?
It's a vote of the council based on what the people want.
Sounds like from this meeting, everybody wants out of this.
Well, there's 21 people in this meeting, and I agree that it's frustrating to try to call meetings and be able to have some meaningful data coming out of it. But,
Right. No,
it-
I understand that. Here, one of the things too is we used to get twice weekly garbage service. I live in Warren. We used to get twice weekly garbage service. It went down to once a week. Our bill stayed the same. Now we get a roll off, which more than 90% of the time I overfill and then borrow my neighbor's dumpster so I can dump all my garbage. But then I also noticed yesterday on my way to work, because I work out of town every day, I'm going up the road and people from out of town are pulling over on the side of the road, dumping their garbage. And I know they're from out of town because I know who it is. And what is the city doing to try and stop all this?
well, my reaction is, what would you like them to do? Because we cannot post a police officer at each dumpster. But if you were to take that license number and you were to turn that in, then those people could be contacted about that, because
Wow.
that is an illegal dumping action.
Right.
And
But-
if I could answer the question of what the city is trying to do, we are trying to have all of our residential garbage to go to a rollout trash can. That way you pull your trash can in and that's your garbage. Nobody can come around and dump into your rollout trash can. The dumpsters do have that problem where we get people from out of the city coming and dumping their garbage, and not only their garbage, but garbage, trash that we shouldn't be accepting into our trucks that are fairly expensive. We get engines, we get, metal studs, we get all kinds of stuff that we should not be having in our garbage trucks. So we
Right.
are attempting to, it's a slow process. We recently did the Saginaw area where we replaced all the dumpsters, and we're trying to go to a complete rollout trash can, so that we do that, and we can't completely eliminate the dumpsters. And if you've noticed, we've started putting some locks on some of those dumpsters. A good example would be the Safeway dumpsters that we have. Safeway has locks on all of their dumpsters now, and they have a key, and those locks are a gravity lock where we pick it up with our truck, it will unlock for us. So we do acknowledge that we are getting illegal dumping, and we're trying our best to provide that service to people that pay for the service.
I understand that. Like I said, my biggest thing is the complaint against this recycling fee. I agree with everybody else. If I don't want to recycle, I should be able to opt out of this fee. I mean, it's ridiculous for the amount of money that it costs the city and us taxpayers, and the amount of money you get out of it. I think the city council and the mayor really need to look at this and think it through, and whether it's financially feasible for anybody. I'd rather take this money and help you pay off the public safety retirement system than go to recycling, because obviously that's a dead end.
Right, thank you. I'm going to move on then, if that's all right. Thank you very much. Let's move on to Mr. Budges next.
Hello. So this is my problem with the charges. You're basing it on back when you did a analysis when we had all the blue bins out and we had 5 or 6 people out there collecting it and bringing it back and then having to hand sort it. So if we're going to only allow or make people drive to the transfer station, then you can't go on the $245,000 that it costs. You'd have to do a new analysis to understand what does it cost to recycle if people drive their recyclables to the transfer station. That's either that or we charge it to $6.77 and put the blue bins back into the neighborhoods, because that's what costs the $250,000. So we're not comparing apples to apples. What I'm asking is there, what's our plan? Are we going to continue with the 266 and then only have it at the transfer station? Those numbers don't meet up. That would not cost us every person to $6.77. What if you decide to put some blue bins back out after COVID, then yes, we could continue to charge that. At this point, we can't. I think that's part of the frustration. Could the city manager address this charging of $6.77 when we're not actually spending that much money because we aren't hand picking up stuff out in the neighborhood?
Yes, I can address that. So really what we have are historic figures, and we can make adjustments to the fee schedule as we get additional information. Actually, recycling cost more in the previous unaudited budget cycle than it did in the audited budget cycle. So we're seeing historically increasing cost. We're only 1 month into the current budget cycle, but we can certainly make adjustments as we learn more from the information that comes forward.
Well, I think part of the frustration is that this increased at the same time the local recycling went away. So I know from talking to a lot of people that because local recycling went away, just like some of the past comments, they're throwing their trash now into the normal trash system, which increases our dumping fees. So I think what we're doing is charging a fee that isn't really reasonable for the service we're providing. So there may be,
we just
ahead.
don't have a way to know that yet because we don't have the history to base a decision on.
So why don't we wait and not increase the 677 until we have an actual number to put there, so that then people say, okay, you're providing this service, which is I bring my recyclables to the transfer station and that will cost me $477 or whatever that may be. That's, I think charging before you know the numbers is part of the frustration.
Ms.
Well,
Coleman? Go
we
ahead.
have the historic numbers. Yes, Jesus.
What I was going to add, and I understand what Mr. Budge is saying, the problem we have is when we talk about historic numbers is I have our statement book right here in front of me, and we get paid back. The last time we got paid back from our recycling vendor was July 6th. That was for material that we took there in April. So we just don't have the historic numbers so that we can put an analysis to those numbers. Like as Ms. Coleman mentioned, is we based it on the previous year, and we were doing that analysis just as COVID hit. And when that fee schedule came through, we had no idea that this was going to happen. We put that number to what it cost, as you suggest, Mr. Budge, with what the service that we were providing. We don't have numbers to back any number other than what we have right now.
That's exactly what I said. I agree fully with that. So
Right.
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I thought you were finished.
Well, I guess the frustration I'm hearing on the street is the fact we're charging based on old numbers with a whole new service. So, you know, there's two ways to go about it. Is we reduce the amount on a we have to guess, I understand that, but I guess I'll ask our public works director. Before, didn't we not have like 4 to 5 sanitation workers working on recycling? Some of those might have been part-time. What was our, because that's where the big cost is manpower. What were we paying before? Now we're paying what, 1 person on recycling?
No, okay, so we have 4 full-time employees and 3 part-time employees in our recycling. We have I wanted 3 of our recycling employees there at the recycling center full-time. And yes, we do have some of our recycling employees with doing other things that our Department of Corrections employees were doing. So they are helping out in other areas. They're not just doing nothing, but yes, you're correct in that we don't have everybody doing the recycling because we don't go out and pick up those recycling bins.
Right. So that's my point, is we have all those employees that were doing recycling in the neighborhoods. Now we don't have those employees doing that, and they may be, I don't think all 4 of them are down there sorting at the transfer station, but I don't know that, but that's not the point. The point being is there's 2 ways we can go about this. We can say, people, if you want to recycle, you'll bring your recyclables to the transfer station and you'll pay the $6.77, just like out of towners do, and the rest of you to pay nothing. But we have to understand that when the rest of them don't pay anything and don't recycle, there's going to be more trash going in to the,
Yes.
into the stream, which then we pay, $60 a ton for. So, this is a moving target, I understand, but I think the frustration level would reduce a lot if we could reduce temporarily, just like we do everything else under this COVID, reduce that 677 to a point that people, until we get really good numbers where we can, decide. But that's what I see. Either bring it back and charge 677 like we did before. We know what those numbers were, or do something different with the 677 and lower that and let people continue to take it to the transfer station for whatever that cost may be. Or you don't need 1 or 2 guys, people, I'm sorry. But
Okay, we get it.
so anyway, and the other point is, and I just want to make really quick the complaints I'm hearing in Old Bisbee, because it only deals with Old Bisbee. And Mr. Mayor, you said, well, you have to take your garbage. Well, for most people and what we're trying to do across Bisbee is we're trying to produce rollouts, which is it's right next to your house. You throw it in there, you roll it out to the street, and it gets picked up. There's still dumpsters out there, I realize, in Warren and other areas where you have to haul it, but it's not very far. It's just behind your alley. What we have in Old Bisbee is I have people calling me and telling me I live up 45, 50, I live on High Road, and I have to take my garbage to somewhere down on Tombstone Canyon. And what I would like to see, if we could possibly do something, would be create a special list, much like we do with picking up green waste. Somebody that's handicapped, old, that can't haul their garbage down 50, 150 stairs and put it into a dumpster while this goes on, that we could make a special list and we could use the extra recycling guys to come and pick those up. The rest of us will just have to put up and fill the dumpsters until COVID's over. But we need to start addressing these people that are handicapped, old. I personally have to take, there's people I know that are handicapped, and I go pick up their garbage, which puts me at risk to take them down to the bins in Tombstone Canyon or the Gulch. And I don't think putting people at risk is any better than putting our people at risk, because anyway, that's my end of my.
All right, why don't you, Mr. Butch, why don't you write that up and submit it as a proposal?
Okay, great. I just wanted
Thanks.
to throw that in because this whole thing was about the whole thing. So thanks.
Mr. Wiggs, Dave Wiggs.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for bringing me in. I have an analogy and then a question. My analogy would be very straightforward. Is this, in fact, a service that everyone needs to pay for regarding recycling? I know that there would be a number of people that would enjoy free groceries, but it doesn't mean that it becomes a city billing and everybody gets free groceries. So my question is this something that is forced upon us by federal mandate or government mandate? And if not, why is it not privatized?
Well, it's not forced upon you by mandate, but I didn't hear the, and why, what, the second part. Why not? I didn't hear that.
Oh, well, my point was, why not privatize this program when it's
Privatize.
possible? You know?
Well, there is as we indicated, there's a private group out of Huachuca City that is doing recycling and picking that up, and for you pay them a fee and they come and pick it up.
That's the way it is with groceries. That makes a lot of sense.
Right, but the point,
I'm not quite sure why it ends up on a government billing when it's an optional choice.
because a number of people at a certain point in time wanted the city to do that, and the city
I
consented.
understand that, and my analogy is the same. We can go back to, I'm sure a larger number would like free groceries.
Well, I'm not arguing.
No.
I think my point, I think my position's been very clear.
Okay, well, I'm just pointing this out for whoever's not online.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Terry's iPad.
Yeah, this is Terry Kokenauer, and I thank you for taking me. Hi. The question that I have, Mr. Harrell, I believe, said there's about 50 vouchers that are being sold outside the city of Bisbee that we're recycling for. Do we have a number on how many people in Bisbee are currently recycling?
No, I don't know that. All I know is that everybody with an account gets charged that fee. I don't have a figure on how many residents within Bisbee actually utilize the service.
Okay, I pay for 2 and I don't use the service, so I don't want it. So count me twice for opting out.
Sure, yeah, I think that's been a point that's been made is.
Yeah, and it sounds like not everybody, but most of the people that have talked, again, 5, most of us don't want it. So I'm not saying those that are currently wanting it speaking up. So perhaps it needs to be dropped.
Understood. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate your input. Any other questions or statements at this point?
Mayor, real quick.
Ms. Coronado.
I was, an email was submitted to us, and it was asked that it be read tonight, if you don't mind. This is from Helen Grady, and it says, I would like to address the recycling fee that has been added to the Bisbee garbage and sewer bill. While recycling is good for the environment and great for those that can recycle, the elderly on Social Security and those who no longer drive are unable to get their recycling and garbage to the facility, and it's an extreme hardship. This additional fee and requirement to drive to recycle area of the garbage dump was not a choice of the citizens of Bisbee, but Bisbee city government choice. Bisbee citizens should have the right to choose if they will pay an additional fee because recycling is not mandated by law. I am speaking for the citizens of Bisbee, the elderly, and the poor trying to make ends meet. This fee should not have been imposed on the people of Bisbee without their consent. I am asking that you please remove the fee from my sewer and garbage bill and that I pay every month. I am 93 years old and no longer drive. Thank you, Helen Grady.
Thank you, Ms. Coronado.
Mhm.
Any questions or comments from anybody? There's 21 of us on the call, just should you not know. I do want to thank all of you very much. I know a couple of you, I can tell from past conversations, are not against recycling, but I want to make sure that everybody's had a chance to be heard tonight. And with that, I will be discussing this with Mr. Haro and Ms. Coleman further, and we will go from there. So again, thanks everybody. Much appreciate you taking your time to meet with us tonight, and please stay safe and well. Good night.